You can't rip for an hour and 7 minutes scripted.
No.
Like, you could take bullet points, but that was all this, you poured that out.
That's all from the heart, and, you know. I've been thinking about kind of this podcast stuff, but then when we met at the Cubs game,
yeah,
and you're like, yeah, I've done this, and I did a podcast, and I helped this, and I was like, oh, click, click, click. Okay, I'm like, we're getting together next week, and you're like, yeah. And then you're like,
on the way out, you're like, no, seriously, what day?
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit.
I wasn't kidding. I wasn't kidding, right?
Like, yes.
Yeah. So, but that comes to like, I've got someone that can do it. Like, why would I wait 3 months to call you? The podcast is going to shift. It's going to be an interview style podcast, right? We're going to have some guests on it, and we already have some guests lined up. Pretty exciting. We've got former NBA champion going to be joining us. We've got CEO of a very successful company in the golf world. He's going to be joining us. You know, we have an NFL player that will probably be joining us. So we talked about opportunity, seeing it, identifying it, taking risks and getting in it. And then we talked about challenge yourself and emotional intelligence. And the last thing that I want to talk about is this thing that I think unsuccessful people think that successful people have. It's luck, right? So unsuccessful people say, oh, they just got lucky. And they're in the right place, right time, blah, 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 right? And it's just not true, right? And there are 4 basic types of lucks. And I'm bringing it up today because I recently read a post by Alex Hormozy. So if you don't follow Alex Hormozy, you need to, right? But I've had this thought for a long time, and then when I saw his post, I follow him, and I bought his books and read through it. And so he says there's 4 types of luck. There's hustle luck, there's skill luck, there's reputation luck, and then there's like blind luck or dumb luck, right? So I'm going to go through kind of each of 4 of those. And this is total credit to Alex Hormozy because he actually put it on paper. Hustle luck, right? Hustle luck really just like overworking your competition. That's one example, right? Like if you want success, you got to put in the work. You got to get to work. You got to have more at bats. If you want to be a good free throw shooter, well, you got to take 10,000 of them, right? Like if you want to make that shot, you've got to get to the free throw line and have a shot at it. You got to practice. You got to keep getting at it, right? So hustle luck is all about that. Like in my world, right, financial services, right, the hustle is getting referrals and getting new appointments, right? It's not hanging my hat on one particular referral, one particular appointment, right? It's quantity, right? It's how many at bats, how many meetings do I get to have? Like I've had thousands, tens of thousands of meetings in 25 years. That's a lot of freaking meetings, right? And so I'm pretty good at what I do because I've had a lot of at-bats, because I've hustled, right? I remember my first couple of years, I remember one meeting, it was a Sunday. It was a 10 a.m. meeting on a Sunday that was a 2.5 hour drive. That's hustle, right? And I'm driving, not even knowing if they're going to become a client. That's one part of the hustle, was just the effort, the pre-result effort. So I get there, drive the 2.5 hours on a Sunday. So I left the house at 8:15, got to their house at 10, 2.5 hours away. And we went through the plan, first meeting, blah, blah, blah. The second part of the hustle was like, I had to be so damn good in that meeting because I didn't want to drive another 2.5 hours back to do a second meeting, right? So I had to get really good at, what do they need? Am I the person to solve it? How can I solve it, right? And so we did that in that meeting, and they became a client in one meeting. I don't do that often, right? But I did it out of pure hustle because I didn't want to have to drive another 2.5 hours one way for another second, third, or fourth meeting. So hustle luck is just having more at bats and giving yourself the opportunities, right? And to those opportunities, the more time you're opening your mind to those, the more you see, the more you get, they just start flowing back to you. So hustle luck is critical, right? You got to put in the work. The second one is skill luck. Skill luck's interesting because people are like, oh, they just got lucky. Well, no, that goes back to kind of being open-minded and being creative and seeing the opportunity, right? Skill luck is seeing what others don't, right? It's emotional intelligence. It's seeing opportunities, right? So when somebody says something, I don't look at the negative. I'm looking at, okay, what are the opportunities, right? And that's my unique skill. Right. So we're sitting here today. I have a podcast. Like, holy crap. How did that happen? It's because I met John Morris, right? through an invitation from Brian Floriani to go to a Cubs game. We're chatting, we're talking about, what do you do? What do you do? Blah, blah, back and forth. And I was like, shit, you do that? I think there might be something here, right? And so, but it was skill because I looked at John as like, I saw something other people didn't see in John that day at the Cubs game, right? He has value that I can lean on, right? And then he can lean on me for the value that I provide. And so that takes skill. And the skill is not the act. The skill is seeing what it could be. That takes practice. That takes work. That takes getting yourself in front of the at-bats to think bigger, right? To just think outside of like this. Take the blinders off and open up your mind. Skill, luck, again, it's a muscle you got to work on. You got to flex it. You got to exercise it, right? But we are here today. You're on this podcast listening to this. You've subscribed because of John Morris, right? We were in the right room at the right time, but it's because I had the skill to see that there's a bigger opportunity for me to share what Play Life Differently means to me and what it might mean to others. Right? That's a skill. And it's not a brag. It's just an observation of what it takes to have luck, skill luck. So the third one is reputation luck, right? So what's interesting about reputation luck, I already gave the story earlier in the podcast of, I took a risk on Brian, brought him to the golf event, blah, blah, and then he's made introductions to me, right? So when you are building a reputation based on strong values, strong beliefs, what happens is you build a reputation for who you are. And if it aligns with other people will bring you opportunities. And that's the luck. So it's based on my reputation. I get more calls to go play golf, right? And it's because they know I'm a good golfer. I like to golf. Like there's some synergies there, right? But I'm not shy about telling them like all the places I play. And it's not to brag. It's just like, oh yeah, like I played there too. Or like we just connect on stories. I'm not bragging. I'm just connecting. And they're just like, oh, Marty, he's a lot of fun to hang out with. I like who he is, which is my reputation, right? How I present myself, right? And then they will call or text and say, hey, you want to go play here? You want to go do that? Whatever, right? So I just got an invite to go play at a charity event in Florida in November, right? So that's not luck. That's reputation, so to speak, right? So you can call it reputation luck if you will, but I didn't get the invite because there's a million other people they could have invited, just out of pure dumb luck. I got it because of who I am, how I show up, what's my presence, right? And so reputation matters. I don't ever go to anything in public where I embarrass myself. It's intentional. It's by design, right? And simply because like, I think I'm a good person. I've worked hard at being a good person. I've worked hard at being growth minded and being successful and all the things we've been talking about. I'm going to show up authentically in the real world. And that reputation of authenticity is what produces the luck, if you want to call it that, right? So reputation luck, it doesn't matter where you are, people are watching. It's consistent, right? So we've talked about being authentic and being who you are in this path of self-discovery. Remember in the first podcast, we talked about the 3 types of people. When they're one-on-one or in a group, they're very consistent, or, they're one-on-one, they're very genuine, very down to earth, but when they're in the group, they're not like that. Kind of interesting, right? And then the third group, which they're just not authentic people at all times, right? So I choose to be authentic at all times. And because of that, that comes across in my reputation, right? I'm approachable, I'm warm, sometimes a little funny, maybe not, right? But I always show up who I am, right? Like I don't need, if we're out at an event, I don't need the extra drink. I know what my limit is and I stick to it. I'm not getting peer pressured into it. I'm not doing things that aren't like in alignment with who I am. And because of that, it builds a reputation. And then that reputation creates the luck. I get the asks, I get the opportunities, right? So you have to find out what it is for you, but your reputation precedes you always, right? So, and then the last one is kind of the obvious one, blind luck, dumb luck, whatever. Sometimes you just happen to be in the right place at the right time. Sometimes. But I think more often than not, if you think about it, probably not, right? Like when I met John, right? John Morris of 444 Media, like that was not blind, dumb luck. The reality is that happened 4 years ago, the beginning of that, when I invited Brian Floriani and Bernie's Book Bank Then we went to, we went to San Francisco to play golf, right? Then I, helped get a couple other people to do annual donations to his charity. And then I became on the co-chair for the event, right? And then Brian's like, oh, return a favor. Why don't you come to the Cubs game? Well, holy shit. There's like 5 things that happened before for 4 years before I met John 2.5 months ago. It might seem like that's blind, dumb luck that I just happened to be at the game. That's not really how that goes, right? You have these 4 types of luck. You've got the hustle luck, the skill luck, the reputation luck, and the dumb luck, right? But what's interesting, there's 4, right? 3 of them you control. 3. So when people, like unsuccessful people say, oh, they're just lucky, successfully lucky. Bullshit. 3 out of 4, that's 75%. I don't know about you, but if I'm playing blackjack and odds are 75% in my favor, I'm betting the house, right? But what's interesting is the more opportunities you have at being lucky, right? The more at bats you get, right? And the more successes then you win on those opportunities. Like the blind luck is it's like moving out of the picture, right? It's not 75% of these other 3 and 25% blind luck. It's now 15% blind luck, 10% blind luck, 5%, right? I don't know how low it goes because there's always it can always happen. So it's probably 1%, maybe. I don't know, right? But like, just think about that. You have control of 75% of the luck that shows up in your life by talking about and seeing opportunities, being open-minded, showing up with growth-mindedness and emotional intelligence. Like, guys, this is why my life changed. And I didn't know it 15 years ago. Had no idea that I was starting to do some of these things. All I know is like, I wasn't who I wanted to be. I was doing positive affirmations. I wanted to get to certain things. I was getting very crystal clear on that. I was challenging my beliefs on how do I be a good dad, how to be a good husband. I was challenging all of these things just because of one thing. If I have the capability, I have the responsibility, right? Like my tagline, like that's it. If I show up and I've got the ability to learn something, the ability to take a opportunity head on, right? The ability to take a little bit of strategic risk with some intention, then I have the responsibility to follow through, to like go to the end with it. So all of this today, like that's literally what it is. It's not overly complicated. It's pretty damn simple, but it's hard as hell. It's intentional every day, every moment. And when I tell you, like, don't get frustrated right away. Like, again, this is years in the making, right? And I'm just here to share it. And maybe 1 or 2 things hit you and you're like, oh my God, yes, right? And then you're off on your path, right? Your trajectory changes. That's all I'm trying to do here. I'm not doing YouTube podcasts for the money. I don't need it. Like, I could make my life very simple, right? Setting up, picking dates to do podcasts and doing posts. Like, I don't need to do any of the work involved in that, right? But the mindset gets me so jacked up that I'm like, how do people like not want that kind of energy? I don't need caffeine. Like, now, granted, I have my coffee. I love my mornings, right? Where I'm reading and I'm journaling, right? I like my warm coffee, right? A little bit of French vanilla in there. But at the end of the day, I don't need caffeine. I don't need the pick me up, right? Because I'm so jacked on like, just what am I capable of? What can I get done? Like, I have a responsibility to myself and others. And so that sense of responsibility is here in this podcast, right? So click, subscribe, follow, comment, all of those things, ask questions. Like, we're going to help, right? Text, whatever it is, reach out, like happy to share like the lessons I've learned. And I'm telling you, I know I've got a million more to go. But my life, like I'm good. I'm at peace today. But peace doesn't mean that I'm like complacent. It just means I know how to handle the stresses of everyday life or the challenges in business or the challenges in relationships. It doesn't mean they're not painful, right? But I have absolute confidence that the end result will be good. It'll be good for me. It'll be good for the people that are involved. Life's all about lessons. It's about the journey. So that's playing life differently. That's why this is not about a destination. It's about self-discovery. Like, I'm just playing life differently with intention and capabilities and responsibilities, and maybe about 1% blind luck. If you're watching this, subscribing, send us questions. I'll answer them. type a question in the comment section, message us, and I'll answer it authentically, directly. Maybe a story in there to illustrate the point. I'm not going to answer any like financial planning type questions. That's not the place for this. Improve a relationship, be more intentional. How do they become successful? Like, answer those things. Send us questions, things that are burning, in your minds or your hearts that you want to know, and or maybe just are struggling with situations. Send it to us. We'll podcast it. We'll answer those. And
leisure, life, wealth.
Yeah, leisure, life, and wealth. Right. Send us questions. We'd love to help and hear kind of what our audience is thinking, and what do how are you taking this stuff? Like, is it helpful? Like, I want to know. This isn't for me. This is for our viewers, right? I mean, I said I don't need to do this, right? So, it's all about you guys. So send us questions and comments. But if you have a specific question, right? General questions are hard to answer. You almost need something specific. I just have found anything I've done general in my life, like, appears muddy. There's no clear resolution or, way to solve it. So send us your specific questions, and I probably have a couple Play Life Differently hats. Yeah. I got a couple extra of those we can send.
Cool.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Awesome. All right. Till next time. Peace, guys.